Today I wanted to just hop on here super quick. I say super quick, but it'll probably be like maybe 10, 15 minutes. I wanted to touch on one of my journal entries today. So, pretty much every morning, probably for like the last 6 months, I've been getting back into just consistently journaling every morning. So, even if I journal like one page, I just wanted to make sure that that is something that is like a crucial part of my morning ritual, I guess you could say. But yeah, so obviously, I mean, I'm already on like my circle. I'm already on my second journal. I finished my first one probably like a couple months ago, but that one I did start around October of last year, so it took me around October, November, December, March, well, close to like probably 7 months, maybe less actually. I don't know, but yeah. Today I just wanted to touch on one of the journal entries that I did, and I titled it "Loving Loving Skillfully." I got the idea from a a Substack article that I was reading a couple days ago, and I just screenshotted something that stood out to me. Usually, that's kind of what I do. Sometimes when I do journal, obviously, I kind of just go off the top. I just kind of like let my thoughts just be a waterfall and just kind of let out whatever it is. Sometimes I do have prompts that maybe, like I said, maybe I see something online, like a Substack article, or maybe a video. Maybe I record a part of a video that I really like, really did like, and I kind of maybe want to go deeper into that. I kind of maybe could relate to, could be from a past situation or maybe something that I'm going through. But yeah, usually that's what I do. It depends. It depends in the morning how I'm feeling. Maybe what it is. Maybe there's something that's maybe bothering me, and I can sense it, and then I'll just write on that. Or maybe I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I know that I want to write because, like I said, it's just something that I want to make a habit out of, and I have been for like maybe almost 7, 8 months. But yeah, so this is this this was this idea was this prompt was gathered from, yeah, like a Substack article that I was reading a couple days ago. I'll share like the first couple sentences on the if you see me looking here, it's because I have like my journal here. So the first couple sentences that I wrote down were from the prompt. So I'll read that, and it'll give you guys an idea, as far as like kind of what it's about. But I did title, like I said, I titled it "Loving Skillfully," and I started off with the actual Substack article, like screenshot that I took of this part of it that says, "Love is about being invested in someone's continual expansion, and this is one of the joys, but also the challenges of love." So that definitely, when I read that initially, while I was on the article and stuff, it definitely it definitely sparked something in me, only because I've been I mean, I have not have been. I mean, I'm still kind of currently going through a transition phase of just a relationship, and currently we are just, I don't want to put too much of my business out there, but just to give you guys context, just kind of like, it's just a current phase right now with both of us where something happened, and there's been a lot of self-reflecting individually, and then as well with the relationship, and with the hopes obviously of reuniting soon and just kind of talking about everything that has happened, with the relationship and seeing where we stand and whatnot. But obviously this happened around January this year, and pretty much all the way up to now, since January, I've been very, um, just taking full inventory and stock of myself as the ways that I handled the relationship at times and patterns and behaviors that caused not just me, but also my partner a type of suffering. So whether it's emotional, well, mostly emotional, obviously not physical, emotional suffering, due to patterns and behaviors and stuff like that. That, yeah. And it's been a lot of, it's been a roller coaster of emotions for sure, but definitely been a lot of, most of the days, most of these months have been very reflective, very mirroring days for me where I just fully embraced everything, myself, going deeper into the roots of specific patterns and issues and behaviors that don't fully align with my truest self and how I want to navigate life with myself, with others, with a partner, with my partner, you know? So, I don't want to go too deep into that, but just for context as to like why this stood out to me was, yeah. So, I'll go a little bit more. So it says the more skillfully you love someone and the more held, encouraged, and accepted they feel, the more courage you'll give them to fully embrace their journey, and the more they will change into who it is that they truly want to embody. So, to me, I took this as when you're in a relationship, I think it's very crucial to make sure that, and this is me just kind of, the rest of this is mostly like what I started writing on my own and my thoughts. So kind of, I won't have to look too much into the journal, like back and forth, because I feel like I already kind of, it's gonna like flow to my head, freely. So, but I think when you're in a relationship, I think the most important part, and this is something that I had to learn, and I definitely, a lot of my past relationships, sometimes people go into relationships like out of like the comfort of just having someone, and in a way that can be very, very selfish. It can be very selfish when you're going into a relationship from a place of lack, like you're not going into it from an odd, at least for me personally, I feel like, of course, I've been in relationships where I had no business being in those relationships, like I myself was not ready to be in relationships, but there was so much in me that I was lacking internally, purposely. I didn't feel fulfilled in my life. And at least for men, I feel like, and women too, I'm sure, maybe if you guys can relate, let me know. But at least for me, like, and for men, from what I've seen online, is like, and then someone who's like a man that's unfulfilled in their life is going to, and at least someone who isn't fully ready to fully embrace and dig deep within themselves and see what it is that they are missing in their life. There's obviously a sense of void. There's a hole in them that they feel, they know there's something there that's lacking, but they're not fully, maybe sometimes it's not that they want to, maybe, like for me personally, I've always been very I've always been very self-aware of myself, of my patterns, of just me as a human, and I've always been like this, pretty much my whole life. So, and I mean, since I was little, I had pretty like bad social anxiety, like pretty, pretty severe. Like I was shy, really introverted. Um, there's still parts of me in that, but I've definitely, for sure, like blossomed into something more, where I feel more comfortable in myself, in my skin. And I have no issues just kind of sparking up conversations with people, and yeah. So, but I think with me, there was so much that I lacked in those my other relationships, where there was something in me that I didn't feel good about in in those stages, in those seasons of my life. I was lacking so much. I lacked purpose. I felt lost. I was going through a lot of emotions, depression, anxiety. I was just constantly just always overthinking about the future. It was hard for me to be in my body and be present. And I wasn't the one. I never really smoked. I never really drank, but something that was definitely a vice for me was I started to seek validation, and that was something that I always struggled with all my life when I was younger, teens, junior high, high school, 18, 19, 20s, early 20s, stuff like that. But I started, like I said, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke. I wasn't like one of those that I was like, well, let me numb whatever it is that I'm feeling that obviously I'm not dealing with. I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel good physically. I don't feel good mentally, spiritually. There's so much that I'm lacking. I know, like whatever it was, being stuck in a job that I hated, but always having that feeling that there was always more for me. I knew that like I'm worth more than this. But just feeling stuck, and not feeling like there's any traction and movement that I was doing. So for me, that vice was the validation of like women, and seeking women and trying to, and like I said, this is very like selfish, and very wrong to do. I've never been I've never been a toxic type of person, and never at all, not even in those relationships where I went into it from a place of lack and a place of just like I didn't feel good about myself. So let me go on dating apps, let me go on Instagram, let me just go in person wherever I worked at, just like feeling that like feeding into the lust, and like these urges that I had. Like I shouldn't have not been in any of those relationships, situations, whatever I was in. Like it was not right of me to be in those, because I was just using these people, these women, as hopefully that they would fill some kind of void in me, because I didn't feel good about myself. So let me go into the relationship. I don't feel good. I feel very insecure. But the only thing that felt good was, and that felt like I had going for myself, was like women, and like the attraction from them, and the attention that I would get from them, and then being in a relationship, and like just feeling validated, because I couldn't validate my sense of self internally. I lacked self worth. So yeah, I mean, I think obviously now, you know, my whole me going into a relationship now is definitely like this last relationship, the one that I'm kind of currently, it's a complicated situation currently at the moment, but this is the first and ever relationship that have ever gone into from a place of full authenticity, and full alignment with feeling good about myself internally, and also feeling really good and aligned with this other person, that I started talking to and dating. This is like the most I felt good aligned. Like I there was zero there was zero lack behind my intention to pursue this. The full pursuit of this was full alignment, just full love, full like believement in like, oh, I want this person, and I like this person aligns with me, their morals, their values, what they want out of life, their ambitions, their dreams. Like I I I see the future with this person. As to where these other people, I I felt something for these other people in these other relationships, but I never envisioned. I didn't even think about a future with them. Like I said, it was just more of like a feeding into me. I was going into it very selfishly. Like like lack, so much lack in myself. And I was looking for it in these relationships. So, but like I said, with this person, and I guess to go full circle now, is what I was trying to say is I think it's very important when you go into a relationship to make sure that like take inventory of yourself and ask yourself like okay, like we're human, we're gonna have attraction to people even if you haven't been in a relationship for a while, or maybe you're just going back to back to back to back relationships where you're not even giving yourself like a chance to like sit and reflect on the relationship and what it is maybe that you did wrong or why did this relationship go wrong, you know? And but no, the next thing you do is you just hop in another relationship and hop in another relationship, you know? It's like how are you gonna like I don't know, you know, obviously there comes to a point where bro, it's been like 4, 5, 6 relationships now, like and you're just going to another one again and you're just like maybe you should chill and maybe take sit with yourself for a bit, a couple months. It doesn't have to be a year. Like maybe try to figure out. Okay, obviously 6, 5 relationships have not worked out for me. They've all been around maybe the same time. Maybe they all ended around the year mark, 2 year mark, whatever the case may be. But there's obviously something happening here where there's a pattern, and you're trying to avoid maybe the pattern. Maybe you're trying to blame it on the women, you know, maybe you're trying to blame it on them, like, oh my god, they don't get me, or you know, like, but there comes a point where you have to maybe face yourself in the mirror and understand yourself and ask yourself the deep questions. Go into yourself and ask the hard questions, you know, sit with yourself, be by yourself for a couple months, you know, and just like learn who you are, you know? Like and I think when you fully I think I think what I'm gonna trying to get to here is like I think it's really important to make sure that you are able to know who you are and what it is that you want and like who you are, what is your inner purpose, you know, like understand your morals, your values, who you are, you know, maybe figure out your negative aspects, you know, things that maybe you didn't like that you did in other relationships or with other people or with friends or with your family, and try to like work on things, you know, like take full responsibility and accountability as well of your flaws, you know, and like try to like do your best to fix and go to the root of the issues, and just like allow yourself to be in solitude, you know, like you can be alone and be happy and be joyful. Like just because you're alone doesn't mean you have to be lonely. You know, people say like, "Oh, you're always alone, you must be lonely." But like I don't think that that's always the case. You know, I've been like these last 6 months, it's just been me, you know, obviously here with my mom, but like my mom doesn't I don't like we talk and but I don't tell her too much about what's going on a little bit, but for the most part it's just me by myself. Like I fully embrace the solitude of what this current season and journey has presented to me. And I think a lot of my other seasons and other relationships, it was always back to back to back. You know, I was never giving myself time to fully sit and reflect, even though I knew, because like I said, I've always been very self reflective of myself and aware. But there's one thing is being aware and being very emotionally intelligent. Like yeah, it's cool, it's fine, it's helpful, you know, it's a start. Like if you're able to be self-aware of what you're doing and you know what you're doing doesn't align and isn't right, that's a start. Like you have to that's a good starting point, and that's the only starting point. You have to be self-aware, you know, you have to make your unconscious decisions conscious, you know, because if you're just kind of like navigating, going with the flow and just not facing yourself, then I don't think you're ever going to break the pattern of whatever it is that you're going through in this self-sabotage situation, you know. But like I said, yes, I was self-aware, but that I was just stopping at the self-awareness, because in a way it was very like dopamine giving in a way, you know. It's kind of like one of those situations where whenever you have something you want to do, you want to start a business, or you're making music or art, or you have something that like lights a fire in you and you're excited about. I don't know if you guys ever noticed this, but like whenever you tell people about your plan, like in that that can give you that same like dopamine hit as if you're like did it already or you're doing it, but you're not really. So you can kind of get caught in that loop of just telling people about your desires, your dreams, your goals, your ambitions. And then you kind of get stuck in that loop of like, damn, like I'm not even doing nothing, but I'm telling people. So that's kind of like how I felt with my self awareness and me being very emotionally in tune with myself about who I am and my patterns, my behaviors, and where they come from. And but I was just stopping there, and I knew I needed to go deeper, but I was just stopping there. And yeah, I don't know. It was difficult, but I had to like get out of that loop, and I did. I definitely did. Prior to me going into this last relationship, that was the longest I have ever gone not going into a relationship. I decided that I need to I need to be by myself for a while. I need to sit, just kind of understand like, hey, like I just need to sit down and like mirror. Like I need the world to be a mirror for me every single day. And I need it to show me myself, like the ugly parts, the bad parts, the parts that I feel shame about, anger, frustration, hurt that cause myself and others, like I had to sit down, I knew it was time. And that's what made me feel more aligned with myself going into this relationship now. But obviously now it's a little bit tricky and not together at the moment. But I say all this to say it's just you it comes loving someone comes with responsibilities, and you just need to make sure you ask yourself when you're dating someone, like don't just date someone just for the comfort of having someone because maybe you feel alone or you feel like you're lacking something, like make sure that this person aligns with yourself. Yes, like it's easy to just gravitate towards someone because they're pretty and they're beautiful, and the external parts of a person, their physical appearance, but I think I think it's just more important like what someone and how someone feels and thinks about themselves and how and what their perspective on life is, and what they want out of life, and like does this person align with myself? And if they do, then that's good. But you need to make sure that, and you don't and I say all this to say that you don't have to be perfect to go into a relationship. You don't have to wait till like everything's perfect with yourself. Like no one's gonna be perfect. That's never gonna happen. You're gonna make mistakes. And if you think that, or if someone's putting that on you, that is not good, because in a way you'll be consistently like really hard on yourself for one, and like it'll feel like you're walking through life on eggshells because you think that you have to be perfect, but you don't. We're human, we make mistakes. You have to be graceful with yourself. Give yourself love, give yourself patience, treat yourself like think of yourself as like that little kid, like you're when you're younger, like take care of him, like be nice, be gentle, like we're still learning, we're still growing. So um yeah, I guess I kind of went on a tangent, but like just loving is a skill, and obviously you're gonna learn skills as you go through relationships. I've learned a lot from these other relationships that I was in, and I'm truly grateful for everything that these relationships taught me, about myself, and how I didn't show up in specific ways. And now it's helped me to, okay, reflect and do better and try to get better at loving as a skill as well, like making sure that when you go into a relationship that you remember that this person is also a person who has dreams, who has goals, who has aspirations. Don't just like label them as your girlfriend, your partner. Like they are their own person, they want their own things, um so you need to make sure that the person that you are going to be dating, that the trajectory that they're trying to go to and the speed that they're trying to go to aligns with your trajectory and your speed, and you're okay with where they're going, you know? Even if you guys are going the same way, it could be different roads, you know? Maybe she's going a little bit fast sometimes, but you're still there. You know, you guys are gonna end up at the same part. At the end, it's the same. But even if it's different career paths, but still the end, you know, like it's aligned. It makes sense. You guys want the same thing. No one's compromising, you know? It's all authentic and genuine. And that there is a skill in that, you know? You have to let the person as well live, you know, let them do their things, and but be there, you know, support them, you know, like be graceful, be caring, be loving, hear them out, you know, make sure that you are their safe space, you know. um but yeah, I guess I think that's all I have, to be honest. I'm trying to think if there's anything here that maybe I didn't touch on, but um yeah, I think I'll leave it at this just because it's getting pretty long. But yeah, these are all just responsibilities of just loving someone correctly and skillfully. And a major key to navigate through genuine love and not resentment is making sure both of your visions fully align with what you guys both want. So yeah, and I think that's it. I'll just leave it at that.